Thomas Dolby is an English musician and producer best known for his 1982 hit She Blinded Me with Science, and 1984 single Hyperactive. He has also worked extensively in production and as a session musician, as a technology entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, and as the music director for the TED conference. He is currently a professor of the arts at Johns Hopkins University. Personal life: Robertson was born in London, England, contrary to information in early 1980s press releases that reported his birthplace as Cairo, Egypt. His father, Martin Robertson, was an internationally distinguished professor of classical Greek art and archaeology at the University of London, Oxford University, and Cambridge University. In his youth Thomas lived or worked in France, Italy and Greece. He attended Abingdon School in 1975 and 1976, completing his A-levels while there. Thomas Dolby spoke of his early musical experiences in a 2012 interview. "I sang in a choir when I was 10 or 11, and learned to sight-read single lines, but other than that I don't have a formal education. I picked up the guitar initially, playing folk tunes Dylan then I graduated to piano when I got interested in jazz, listening to people like Oscar Peterson, Dave Brubeck, Bill Evans, Thelonious Monk, and so on. The first electronic instruments started to become accessible in the mid-70s and I got my hands on a kit-built synthesizer and never looked back." He married actress Kathleen Bellew in 1988. They have 3 children together. Dolby is member number 1 of the current incarnation of the Flat Earth Society. Stage name: the Thomas Dolby stage name originated from a nickname that he picked up around the early 1970s, when he was always messing around with keyboards and tapes. His friends nicknamed him Dolby, from the name of an audio noise reduction process from Dolby Laboratories used for audio recording and playback. Robertson chose to adopt the stage name Thomas Dolby to avoid confusion with British singer Tom Robinson, who was popular when Robertson began his career. Early publicity implied that Dolby was a middle name, and that the artist's full name was Thomas Morgan Dolby Robertson. This is legally incorrect, but he does sometimes informally go by the initials TMDR. After the release of She Blinded Me with Science, Dolby Laboratories expressed concern regarding the musician's stage name. Dolby's record label refused to make him change his name, and Dolby Labs did not raise the issue again until later. After a lengthy legal battle, the court decided that Dolby Labs had no right to restrict the musician from using the name. It was agreed that the musician would not release any electronic equipment using the name. Solo music career: Dolby is associated with the new wave movement of the early 1980s, a form of pop music incorporating electronic instruments, but Dolby's work covers a wide range of musical styles and moods distinct from the high-energy pop sound of his few, better-known commercial successes. The Golden Age of Wireless originally released in the UK and US including the songs Europa and the Pirate Twins, Airwaves, and Radio Silence, the first releases of Dolby's first solo album. The Golden Age of Wireless did not include the album's signature hit, She Blinded Me with Science. After the 5-song EP Blinded by Science introduced the catchy single, The Golden Age of Wireless, was subsequently re-released with the single that, combined with its accompanying video, became Dolby's most commercially successful single, reaching number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album was released a total of 5 times, each with changes in song order and included songs, or even including a different version of Radio Silence, or extended remix of She Blinded Me with Science. Dolby's debut album, Wireless, peaked at number 13 on the Billboard album chart. It juxtaposed themes of radio technology, aircraft, and naval submarines with those of relationships and nostalgia. While much of the album's instrumentation is synthesizers and samplers, the album credits a long list of guest musicians as well, with instruments ranging from harmonica and violin to guitar and percussion. She Blinded Me with Science included sound samples from Dr. Magnus Pike. A short sample was included in the Treehouse of Horror 14 episode of The Simpsons, where Professor Frink was winning an award at a science convention. It was also sampled at a lower speed by the group Mobb Deep in the 2006 song Got It Twisted. She Blinded Me with Science was also used as the theme song for the pilot episode of broadcast television sitcom The Big Bang Theory, though it was not used for later episodes. Dolby's Cube Beginning in 1983, Dolby collaborated with a number of artists in an occasional studio-bound project called Dolby's Cube. The project had no set lineup, and was essentially a forum for Dolby to release material that was more dance-oriented. Dolby's Cube released a single in 1983, another in 1985, and performed soundtrack work for the film Howard the Duck in 1986. Collaborators in Dolby's Cube at various junctures included Lean Lovitch, George Clinton of Parliament Funkadelic, Francois Kevorkian, and Lee Thompson. The Flat Earth In 1984, Dolby released his second LP, The Flat Earth, which peaked at number 14 on the UK Albums Chart and at number 35 on the Billboard Album Chart in the US. Utilizing a wide range of influences ranging from nostalgic jazz, funk-tinged Motown R&B, and world music, along with a strong electronic element and featuring a slew of guest musicians, including longtime Dolby collaborator Matthew Sligman on bass, Kevin Armstrong on guitar, and Cliff Brigden on percussion, and guest vocals from Robin Hitchcock, Bruce Woolley and others. The Flat Earth further established Dolby's wide range of talents as musician, songwriter, and producer. The album also included a cover of the Dan Hicks song I Scare Myself. Hyperactive, originally written for Michael Jackson, was the first and most successful single from the album, peaking at number 17 on the UK Singles Chart, making it Dolby's highest charting single in his home country. Aliens Ate My Buick In contrast to the overall introverted nature of the Flat Earth, Dolby's described his next release, Aliens Ate My Buick, in the following quote: "I think it's very bold. Some people who've known my stuff from the beginning find it a bit hard to stomach. They think it's a bit brash. It's certainly unsubtle in a lot of ways. It goes for the jugular. There was always a side to the stuff that I did that was very extroverted and wacky. The flip side of the coin was the more atmospheric, moody stuff. There was always room for both of them. But this album, with the exception of maybe one song, Budapest by Blimp, is all on the extrovert side. Aliens Ate My Buick was strongly funk and dance influenced. The first single was Airhead, a satirical song about a stereotypical young and rich Californian woman, which peaked at number 53. The second single, Hot Sauce, a cover of a George Clinton song, peaked at number 80. There was one more single, My Brain Is Like a Sieve, which peaked at number 89 on the UK Singles Chart. The album was co-produced by Bill Bottrell, and featured Terry Jackson on bass guitar. Astronauts and Heretics For Astronauts and Heretics, Dolby expanded even further stylistically, starting the songwriting process at the piano, then again collaborating with a variety of guest musicians. Both Bob Weir and Jerry Garcia played guitar on The Beauty of a Dream. Eddie Van Halen plays on Eastern Bloc, and Close But No Cigar. Other collaborators included Jimmy Zed on sax, Budgie on drums and Leland Sklar on bass guitar. Terry Jackson also contributed bass guitar on 4 songs before his 1991 death in a plane accident with 7 other members of Reba McEntire's support band for her For My Broken Heart tour. The highest charting song off this album was Close But No Cigar, which reached number 22 on the UK charts. 2 other songs on the album, I Love You Goodbye, and Silk Pajamas, employed Zydeco influences, courtesy of Crowley, Louisiana, and guest musicians Michael Doucet of Bose Soleil on violin, Wayne Toups on accordion, and even banjo. Even though some recording for the album was done in remote locations, the bulk of Astronauts and Heretics was recorded at NRG Recording Studios with input from trusted Dolby co-producer Bill Bottrell, and mixed down at Smoke Tree Studios in Chatsworth, California. The Soul Inhabitant Following his involvement in Beatnik Incorporated, Dolby returned to his musical career in 2006. He performed his first solo public show in 15 years at the Red Devil Lounge in San Francisco, California on January 21, 2006, surprising the crowd who were there to see local band Notorious. He then launched an American tour, The Soul Inhabitant Tour, on April 12, comprising a string of small dates in California, a mall opening in Boulder, Colorado, and gigs across America before receptive crowds. The United States leg of the Soul Inhabitant Tour 2006 was captured on a live CD and DVD. The CD represents a recording of 2 gigs played by Dolby at Martyrs in Chicago, while the DVD was filmed at the Berklee Performance Center at Berklee College of Music. The DVD also includes a 30-minute interview, and a lecture by Dolby at the Berklee College of Music. Both the CD and DVD were released in November 2006, and are distributed through CD Baby and iTunes. Dolby autographed and numbered the first 1,000 copies of the CD and DVD. The show at the 800-capacity Scala Club in London was booked for July 3, 2006 as a warm-up for Dolby's Hyde Park set opening for Depeche Mode. The show sold out in a matter of days and prompted Dolby to reprioritize the UK, resulting in him moving with his family from California back to England, and a 9-date Soul Inhabitant tour of the UK in October 2007, coinciding with the release of a lavish box set of the Soul Inhabitant CD and DVD by UK independent label Invisible Hands Music. Thomas toured throughout the months of November and December 2006 with electronic musician BT. This tour included a version of Airwaves that BT added his own technique to, which was the opening song on the UK leg of the Soul Inhabitant tour. Thomas Dolby's performance of March 15, 2007 at the SXSW Festival was released as the live EP Thomas Dolby and the Jazz Mafia Horns, live at SXSW. The 2007 UK Soul Inhabitant tour included 3 new songs previously played on the US tour, one called Your Karma Hit My Dogma, another called Jealous Thing, and a cover version of the special also known as What I Like Most About You Is Your Girlfriend. Your Karma Hit My Dogma was inspired by Kevin Federline's unauthorized use of a sample from Mobb Deep's Got It Twisted, which in turn had used an authorized sample of She Blinded Me with Science. The tagline from that story became the title of the song. The wording was lifted by Thomas from a bumper sticker on a car that he saw whilst living in the San Francisco Bay Area. In a move close to performance art, Dolby tried to post a cease and desist legal letter on Kevin Federline's MySpace page when other attempts to contact him proved fruitless. The song is on the Live at SXSW EP. The second new song, Jealous Thing, was performed at least at the Graduate in Cambridge and London's Islington Academy on the UK tour in summer 2007 and features a bossa nova type rhythm. 2009 reissues a CD plus DVD set entitled The Singular Thomas Dolby has been released by EMI on May 18, 2009. As the name suggests, it is a digitally remastered compilation of previously released singles. The DVD contains all the video singles which were available on the original Laserdisc release of the Golden Age of Video, as well as the videos for the songs Silk Pajamas, I Love You Goodbye, and Close But No Cigar. These 3 missing videos are for the singles taken from the 1992 album Astronauts and Heretics, which received critical acclaim but garnered unimpressive sales. The Golden Age of Wireless and The Flat Earth were reissued and remastered later that year with numerous previously unreleased bonus tracks. The former was a 2-disc set including a DVD of the complete live wireless video. A map of the floating city. In 2010 Dolby began work on a new studio album entitled A Map of the Floating City. The album is divided into 3 parts, with the first 2 parts initially made available to members of the Flat Earth Society, Dolby's online community. Each of the 3 digital EPs takes its name from one of the 3 sections of the full-length album that later followed. The first EP, Americana, was released digitally on June 16, 2010. The second EP is entitled Oceania, and was released on November 29, 2010. Due to favorable reviews and radio airplay, Oceania was released commercially on March 28, 2011. The third section of the album, entitled Urbanoia, was not released as a download or physical CD, but the songs were premiered online as part of the Floating City game. Contributors to the album include Kevin Armstrong, Matthew Sligman, Bruce Woolley, drummer Liam Janocki, guitarist Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits, Regina Spektor, Natalie McMaster, Eddie Reeder, and Imogen Heap. In a 2010 press release he was quoted as saying, "I marvel at the new landscape of the music business, a Euro distribution via the internet and recording technologies I barely dreamed of when I started out," he continues. "But this album does not sound electronic at all. I have zero desire to add to the myriad of machine-based, synth-driven grooves out there. The net has made a music career approachable for thousands of bands a Euro, but I hear too few single-minded voices among them. What I do best is write songs, tell stories. The new songs are organic and very personal," says Dolby. "This album is a travelogue across 3 imaginary continents. In Americana I'm reflecting with affection on the years I spent living in the USA, and my fascination with its roots music. Urbanoia is a dark place, a little unsettling. I'm not a city person. And in Oceania I return to my natural home on the wind-swept coastline." A map of the floating city was recorded in the Nutmeg of Consolation, Dolby's recording studio built within a 1930s lifeboat and powered entirely by renewable energy, which is located in the garden of Dolby's beach house on England's North Sea coast. Map of the floating city game. In June 2011 Dolby announced the Map of the Floating City game, a multiplayer online game that shares a title with the full-length album release planned to follow after the game's conclusion. In Dolby's own words, the floating city is set against a dystopian vision of the 1940s that might have existed had WWII turned out a lot differently. Survivors explore a fictional Google map, forming tribes and trading relics amidst a bizarre seagoing barter society. As they struggle to unravel the enigma that is the floating city, players can haggle over merchandise and music downloads a Euro, including brand new songs from A Map of the Floating City, Dolby's first album in 20 years, scheduled to be released following the climax of the game. The game was played from June through August 2011, and included elements of trading, mystery, competition, and cooperation. Players earned free song downloads, and the winning team or tribe was awarded a private performance from Dolby. Studio and live performance collaborations. Professional music career beginnings. Early in his career, Dolby played keyboards with Bruce Woolley and the Camera Club and is credited on their debut album. The instrumental track WW9 in the album English Garden is the first recorded example of Thomas writing. He also wrote Lean Lovich's hit single New Toy, and played keyboard as part of the backing band for her tour. Dolby played some synthesizer parts on the Thompson Twins album's set and co-wrote Magic's Wand with Houdini, and played keyboards on one track on Robin Hitchcock's first solo album, 1981's Black Snake Diamond Roll. Around this time, he also formed a short-lived band called the Fallout Club. By far the most significant session relationship for Thomas in the early days was when he contributed the signature synthesizer sound on the track Urgent on Foreigner's 1981 album 4. On the same album he played the atmospheric synthesizer intro to the mega-hit Waiting for a Girl Like You. The fees from this work, including tour dates, bankrolled the studio time for the recording of the 1980s benchmark album The Golden Age of Wireless, from which his solo career began. Dolby also worked as session keyboard player on Def Leppard's 1983 Pyromania album. Dolby appeared on Pyromania using the alias Booker T. Boffin, as his affiliation to another record label restricted the use of his real name. 1985 Grammy Awards and Live Aid. In 1985, Dolby appeared at the Grammy Awards, which were televised, along with Stevie Wonder, Herbie Hancock, and Howard Jones. All 4 musicians were successful in the mid-1980s music scene, and they were also all keyboard and synthesizer experts. That same year, Dolby performed at the Live Aid concert in London as part of David Bowie's band. Other live appearances. In a 1985 news clip about synthesized music, Dolby was shown with Trent's early band, the Exotic Birds. He also appeared on stage playing keyboards with George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic during the band's lone appearance on NBC's Saturday Night Live in 1986. Dolby continued to perform live in the late 1980s and early 1990s, including an appearance supporting Depeche Mode at their June 18, 1988 Pasadena Rose Bowl concert, which was released as the 101 concert album and movie. In 1990 he appeared in Roger Waters' charity performance of Pink Floyd's The Wall album in Berlin. Dolby, in costume as the teacher, played a keyboard solo during Another Brick in the Wall, and then reprised the role for the closing the trial sequence. He appeared on stage with the reunited Soft Boys in San Francisco on April 7, 2001 and played synthesizer on You'll Have to Go Sideways, Evil Guy, and Pink Floyd's Astronomy Domin. Evil Guy, from that evening's sound check, wound up on the Soft Boys 2002 EP Side 3. It was not the first time Dolby and members of the Soft Boys appeared on record together. Dolby had played keyboards on former Soft Boys member Robyn Hitchcock's first solo album, Black Snake Diamond Roll. Meanwhile, Hitchcock appeared on Dolby's The Flat Earth, performing the role of Keith on White City. Soft Boys bassist Matthew Sligman recorded and toured with Dolby in the 1980s, including the Live Aid performance. Dolby also performed a portion of the Soul Inhabitant show for the Bob Moog Foundation Moogfest 2007 in New York City. In 2012, Dolby headlined the first Steamstock Outdoor Steampunk Music Festival in Richmond, California, alongside steampunk favorites Apney Park, Vernian Process, Lee Presson and the Nails and others. Dolby is considered one of the early pioneers of retro-futurist music. Amanda Palmer was once quoted as saying, "Thomas Dolby is to steampunk what Iggy Pop was to punk." Other production credits In 1985, Dolby was credited as co-producer on Joni Mitchell's album Dog Eat Dog. He was credited as producer for Prefab Sprouts albums Steve McQueen, From Langley Park to Memphis, and Jordan, The Comeback. He also played keyboard on George Clinton's 1985 album, Some of My Best Jokes Are Friends. Film and video games. Scores for film and video games. Thomas Dolby has also worked as a soundtrack composer for both films and video games, most notably The Gate to the Mind's Eye, the third installment of the CGI collection, The Mind's Eye. Dolby also wrote the songs for the 1986 George Lucas film Howard the Duck and chose the members of the film's fictional band, Cherry Bomb. Dolby wrote and produced 3 tracks for the 1992 soundtrack of the animated movie Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. He also created the score for the 1993 Sega CD interactive movie Double Switch. Additionally, the song Hyperactive is featured in the 2002 PlayStation 2 video game Grand Theft Auto: Vice City as part of the new wave radio station Wave 103. In 1992, Dolby co-created and performed the Mirror song with Robin Williams and Joan Cusack for Toys alongside Trevor Horn and Bruce Woolley. In 1995, Dolby composed the score to the cult video game The Dark Eye. In 2009, Dolby's song One of Our Submarines appeared in the horror film The House of the Devil, but not on the official soundtrack release. Dolby's song She Blinded Me with Science is featured as a collectible cassette which can be played back as desired in the 2015 video game Metal Gear Solid V, The Phantom Pain. Film roles. In 1990, Dolby played the role of the villain Stanley in the movie Dracula, as well as contributing the songs Stanley's Death Park and Budapest by Blimp. The Invisible Lighthouse. In 2012, Dolby learned of the decommissioning of the Affordness Lighthouse near his Suffolk home, and proceeded to film a documentary, The Invisible Lighthouse, to chronicle the shutdown of the lighthouse as well as his childhood growing up in the area. Dolby took this film on the road through the US and UK in the fall of 2013, accompanying the film with live music, narration, and sound effects by Blake Lehr. The film won the DIY Film Festival Award for Best Picture. Other endeavors. Headspace and Beatnik. In 1993, Dolby successfully established the Headspace Company. Headspace developed a new downloadable file format designed specifically for Internet usage called Rich Music Format with the RMF file extension. It had the advantage of small file size like MIDI but allowed recorded sampled sounds to be included at a higher bit rate for better overall reproduction. RMF music files could be played in a browser using the free Beatnik Player plugin. Later versions of RMF permitted artists to place an encrypted watermark in their files that were supposed to prevent unauthorized duplication. In 1999, Headspace, Incorporated was renamed Beatnik, Incorporated, and now specializes in software synthesizers for mobile phones, which it has licensed to mobile phone manufacturers including Nokia. While still remaining on the company board, Dolby stepped down from his position as CEO of Beatnik Incorporated to pursue other technologically innovative interests, such as founding Retro Ringtones LLC in 2002, which produces the Retrofolio ringtone asset management software suite for companies involved in the mobile phone ringtone business. At the second annual Mobile Music Awards, Miami, Florida, in 2004, Retrofolio won Best of Show and Best New Technology awards. Dolby's musical talents have also been put to use creating hundreds of digital polyphonic ringtones now found on mobile phones everywhere. He is often a major speaker at technology conferences such as Comdex, WebSphere, and Nokia. TED Conference Since 2001, Dolby has acted as musical director of the TED Conference, an annual event held first in Monterey, California, and subsequently in Long Beach, California, that attracts some of the world's foremost thinkers, inventors, and speakers. In this capacity he provides live musical introductions to sessions, sometimes with an eclectic TED house band, as well as helping secure guest musicians and entertainers for the event. In March 2012, Dolby spoke at the Design West conference in San Jose, California at the McInerney Convention Center, produced by UBM Electronics. Academic career In March 2014, Dolby was named Homeward Professor of the Arts at Baltimore's Johns Hopkins University. Awards. In July 1998, Thomas received a Lifetime Achievement in Internet Music Award from Yahoo! Internet Life. In 2012 he performed at Moogfest and was the recipient of the Moog Innovation Award, which celebrates pioneering artists whose genre-defying work exemplifies the bold, innovative spirit of Bob Moog. Discography. Singles. A track did not chart in North America until 1983, after the success of She Blinded Me with Science. Albums. A session musician. Foreigner Euro 4, Def Leppard Euro Pyromania, Malcolm McLaren Euro Duck Rock. As producer. Prefab Sprout Euro Steve McQueen, From Langley Park to Memphis and Jordan, The Comeback, Houdini Euro OE Magic Euro Unregistered Trademark S Wonder Euro from its self-titled album. Collaborations and connections. The following artists have worked with Thomas Dolby. Instruments and equipment. The following is a list of notable instruments and the electronic equipment that Dolby has used on his recordings. PPG 360 Euro 380 Wave Computer and Sequencer, PPG Wave 2.2 Synthesizer, Fairlight CMI Series 3 Sampler, Moog Micro Moog Synthesizer, Roland D50 Synthesizer, Roland MKS20 Rack Mount Synthesizer, Opcode Studio Vision Sequencing Software, Apple Macintosh iX Computer, Roland Jupiter 4, Korg M1 Rack Mount Synthesizer, EMU SP12 Sampling Drums Sequencer, Lin 9000 Sampling Drums Sequencer, Simmons Electronic Drums, Yamaha EV1 Digital Reverb Processor. References. External links, official website, Thomas Dolby at the Internet Movie Database, audio interview with Thomas Dolby on the Sodajika on Songwriting podcast, Thomas Dolby interview from Chaos Controlled Zine, Thomas Dolby at Design West, Thomas Dolby at TED.